We are
Didi
and Arma, and in our daily lives we support people on the path of self-liberation. We teach time-tested energy skills like Qigong, Tai Chi, internal alchemy, traditional nutrition and meditation.
We help people release stagnation, build energy, and become aligned with themselves and their purpose in life.
In this podcast, we share the methods, skills, and solutions that helped us, our students, and now hopefully you move forward.
Let's explore transformation together.
Today we are talking about a topic close to my heart. It's about cultivating stillness. And as far as I'm concerned, and I guess you as well, the essence of Qigong.
Yeah. And if we're talking about cultivating stillness, there is something on the other side of stillness, and probably one of the reasons that a lot of people start.
Absolutely. There's so much noise, and it's not only a loud world you're in, but at the moment, but I think for most people when they start this practice, it comes from realizing that there's a lot of internal noise going on, and noise you can see that literally or the other way. But I think, of course, I woke up to a lot of mental noise and a lot of emotional noise and a lot of physical tension and energy all over the place, highs, lows, and a lack of focus, a strong will, but a lack of focus. So there was a lot of things that were happening that I just woke up to and started realizing, okay, there's something I need to do now, to change this. I have to do that. No one can do that for me. Of course, you can take some pills or you can whatever. Yeah. But, I didn't do that. But I have to do that.
Yeah.
And something magical starts happening when you make that decision and things come into your life. So I got a book coming into my life from Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. It's a very famous book. And I started reading this and I was like, wow, there was such a deep thing in that sort of helped me wake up even more. Yeah. And that started a whole journey, as I've talked about in former podcasts as well. But so there's this thing like noise and the now. And so I was fascinated, and that sent me off on a journey.
Yeah. So very important in the thing that you were just saying is that you can have a lot of noise, on every level, like physical, emotional, mental noise.
Sure. So physical noise being tension, right? It's like physical stress. I call it noise, but it's like it's such contraction that it distracts you constantly, right? It pulls you in.
Yeah.
It draws you in, and same as the mental noise. Like, so thoughts, I wasn't able to manage any thoughts, right? They just happened, and these emotions are coupled with those, and so everything interacts with each other, and there's no skill there. It's just on the loose, like a rodeo horse. It's just, and
and I think so many. And me also can, of course, we all have that experience. We all have experience. And I think it needs to go, as you say, to a certain point where you wake up like, oh, wait, I need to do something. I think for a lot of us, when we're in this phase of recognizing it's part of us, it's also that we're looking at the outside first, like, oh, why is the outside world so loud? Why is this person doing these things to me?
Absolutely. I think there's just a lot of reactivity going on. You in the world, and everything that's happening, you start touching all these things, and what's your place in this world, right? Who are you, and what's the purpose, and what's going on, and it's a lot to take in. What happens. It's but I was one of the lucky ones who woke up and was like, oh, wait a minute, this needs some attention here. I need to work at this thing. My reactivity, it's mine, right? It's not per se the situation. Everything that happens around you, of course, they influence you, but you touching it and trying to figure things out or trying to control too much, because that's a thing that I did, try to control this, try to control that.
But that's a very, very important remark that you made there. The situation is not your reaction. These are two different things.
Sure.
Yeah. And to be able to take that apart is already a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's everything. Really,
it's everything.
Right? So, and you could say the whole Qigong process is aligned for you. It's designed in such a way that is the thing. It's all about becoming more from an objective standpoint in your life than this underwater thing where you just unaware are reacting to everything around you, causing a lot of upheaval in your system, and then and just don't know how to deal with that, right? So this separation that starts happening when you look at yourself as like, but wait a minute, because of my reaction towards this thing, I have this suffering, going on.
Absolutely.
Instead of like, no, it's the situation doing that, right? Well, if you're hit by a truck, right? Yeah, sure. But I'm talking about different stuff here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about things you can't control, but try to control. And
And there's so much conditioning, because something that I'm always, when I look at children, because it starts at a very young age, when I look at children, and especially with my own niece and nephew, when they were very young, and they fall over, and they first look at a grown-up, what the reaction is.
Yeah. Typical. They're like,
oh,
and then, because mommy's like,
Or if mommy is like, not paying any attention, then the child just gets up and plays on. But it's that kind of, and this is a small example of how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's beautiful. And then, of course, so it started one of the beautiful things that came into your life was the book of Being in the Now.
Yeah, that was sort of like, what, It was just total new concept to me. Not in hindsight, because I was in that state when I was a kid. I can obviously remember that, where you were so present, and there was this, this connection with the present, constantly, right? And sometimes you were a little bit out of it, and that starts happening a little bit more and more when you start going to school, and there's a lot of things expected from you, and things are happening, and there's a lot of grown-ups around you, and you're like, there's so things change, and it becomes noisier. And you start to lose some of that, and but I never lost it completely, I guess, in hindsight, because we all experience moments. But it's different than having a skill over that, right? So
that's the big difference. With Qigong, you build a skill, right? You get a skill of and very consciously building a skill of how to separate those things. Because I think we all experience, like with ballet, I would just lose myself in the moment. That was a very great exercise for me to just experience the now. But I couldn't take it beyond the lesson that I would have.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people, they go mountain biking, they go hiking, they go, they do lots of stuff to get themselves in the moment, or watch a movie or whatever. They just,
Yeah.
But the thing here, it's different. It's sort of building yourself up again to where you were.
Yeah.
Right. It's sort of that's might be a good thing to have a little bit of a walkthrough through this Qigong process.
That would be great. So can you tell us a little bit more about what Qigong does? What steps do we take when we go into that process?
Yeah, for sure. So the thing is, we start with concentrating. We're starting to concentrate immediately. So when I started out, I started with standing Qigong. So it demanded of me to be focusing in my body and creating a connection physically with myself. So that was a huge thing, because you get distracted. I got distracted out of it. It's like I was standing there. I was like, wait a minute, where did my thoughts go? Right? It was like I was not in it anymore. So, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I was focusing on this, I'm focusing on that. I was my mind in my body. That, of course, concentration in itself is an observing state, which creates a lot of stillness. That comes as a byproduct of the training. But also standing practice, being it's not static. It looks static, right? But it's not. Is a process of stilling your body, right? By opening the joints, by coming into the elasticity of the body and starts fine-tuning that, you get into a different physical state. And there's a lot of stillness around that as well, right? You start unifying the body, you start observing it, fine-tuning it, and your mind becomes more and more proficient on being inside, right? There. Not there, but there. Right? So this is a huge thing, and it was a huge thing for me. So in the beginning of the training, there was a lot of being distracted, but those moments became shorter, and because it sort of drew me in, and the stillness of the body would create more stillness in the focus. So it went both ways. So the focus created the stiller body created more focus, and it became sort of a thing that made itself stronger. Yeah. Okay. So, and I started learning Tai Chi with that as well. We took these concepts into forms, etc., in training by slowing everything down and having this still body moving. Right. Whereas in the beginning it's standing, now you start moving with the same thing. And by going very slowly, your mind starts to slow down, everything starts to slow down, and it demands a certain focus and concentration again to be, in that state. Which, when you start it, it's not constant. No. You have moments, right? And then, there's like, I lost my balance a little bit there, or there was this thing or that thing, and then, come back again. Come back again. Fine-tune. Come back again. Yeah. And this is the muscles, like, come back again. Yeah. Come back again. Come back again. And you start growing come back again muscle.
Building this skill.
Building the skill of concentration.
Yeah.
Because that's all what it is. I think if you look at someone performing a Tai Chi form on a high level, what you see is someone concentrating. But it's the same for a high skilled musician, or a high skilled improviser like Keith Jarrett, for instance, or people who just they go to the instrument, start improvising in front of an audience, right? So the audience doesn't know what's coming, but the artist also doesn't know what's coming, right? So that demands a certain skill. It demands concentration, and we've been lucky enough to see Keith Jarrett play a couple of times, right? Now he's not performing live anymore because he had a stroke, which is very sad. But we were very lucky to have seen him. And it's incredible what happens. The focus in the audience becomes the same as the focus on stage. And there's this stillness accumulating around it, right? So there's music, but there's at the same time, there's a lot of stillness. There's almost this vacuum happening, which is just exhilarating. It's just unbelievable. And I've seen more concerts like that. Yeah. So
there's something magical happening there.
So people who are performing, they know how to concentrate, right? Yeah. It demands concentration, and you, as looking at it, experiencing it with them, are drawn into their stillness as well. Yeah. Okay, so this is maybe a little bit sidetracked, but that's what happened with that. Yeah. Yeah.
So you were practicing the standing practice and your Tai Chi. So how did that translate into your daily life?
well, I got very much body aware, you could say, right? So this a link with the body you start creating, and the body is you know, I will say body for now, but there's this, you get such a connection with your body. You know every part. It's just, you know, there's a little this joint there, a little bit stretched there. You live in your body.
Absolutely.
And you take that with you wherever you go. So you become very much aware of your physical state in any situation.
Yeah.
And that's a really important thing, because you create a sort of an anchor that way, right? So wherever I am, a part of me is conscious about the body, right? It's very aware. I live in my body now, where I used to not live in my body. And that's a huge thing, because our state is also, our physiology is also a large part of how we feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you say that, I see with so many people that they don't really are in their body. It's
true.
Interesting if you look around, you see people who their head is right in front of their body when they're walking. It's so they're not inhabited.
But you can also see, it's like how they sit or they talk, and they lean against the wall and they're there. It's like, there's no way they can root in that way, right? They're not rooted, and they sort of unconsciously keep themselves away from heaven and earth, right? So
they're not putting themselves in the middle.
Right. That's the aim of qigong, is to get yourself back into, you know, a being, this being that's connected with heaven and earth at the same time, and these energies come through you and they work through you, and this is where internal power comes from. But if you look at that, we're so distracted, we're so reactive, and so locked into this in this state, if you will, that we don't live in our bodies anymore. You know, there's no awareness there, and they're all over the place. You know, they're all over the place, and there's so many ways in how that expresses itself. They look at someone on their phone.
I was just thinking about that.
Well, came up with me as well, me as well. So, you know, if just bend that neck, right? So now you would say, let's say you go into public transport, right? Now you go into public transport, and it's all this, right? Everyone's like, so. And they might have like a 20 minute ride, you know, on this thing going from work back to their house or whatever, or the other way. And now you would say to them, it's like, okay, now put the phone away. We'll do something, right? We'll do a test. So we're going to put the phone away, but we're going to hold the position now without the phone. Right? We're going to do that for 20 minutes. We're going to go on the train, and you're going to bend your neck like that. You're going to sit like that with this hand, right? And now you're going to sit like this for 20 minutes. How long does it take for them to say, this feels really weird, you know, my neck starts hurting, you know, it's like, or hurting, but there's tension there, and then you ask them, it's like, so how, but not only like, you know, it's not only physical, but how do you feel, right? And now let's say after 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes in, it's like, do you feel comfortable? Are you relaxed? Are you present? And they'll be like, no, of course not. Right? Of course not. I don't feel great at all, right? I feel very, you know, wait a minute, right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we unconsciously keep ourselves in these kinds of positions the whole day, you know. It's normal. We find that very normal. And then we're surprised with all the stress that's in the world, right?
Yeah.
So now put a phone there, you don't feel great, you got this phone, and you
have all this noise
coming to you, and you're like this, and like
yeah. That's even talking about it makes me kind of anxious.
Actually, so where's the stillness in there? Where's focus in there? Where's concentration in there?
Maybe they're looking at their meditation app or something.
Oh, could be.
Yeah,
could be.
but even then,
Well, I would lose it.
No.
I wouldn't do that. But this, I mean, I'm not trying to ridicule this, right?
No,
I mean, this is a part of modern life, and but there's huge problems around that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but becoming very present in your body is a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thing. You live in your body, and people who train with me, when you go through this process, they come back and it's like, oh, I sit differently. I sit differently in my car, right? I'm very aware of. Do I have my eyes on the horizon level, or am I slouching? They can find how you say that? They see a comparison between their physical state and their mental emotional state.
Yeah.
And now, because they're more physically aware, they're like, wait a minute, this body just wants to open, right? If you train enough, it becomes a new memory for your body just to be open, and you just feel better. You feel much better, and plus, there's more stillness around you.
Yeah.
More focus.
Absolutely. And so this is just the beginning.
This is not even half an inch deep into the training.
So what's next?
Well, out of this stillness, you become more energy aware, right? And this is the stillness does that. Concentration does that, right?
Yeah.
You start focusing and you start feeling, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into something like alchemy training, so you go explore all these energies, and you as an energy being, and you go through vital energy, and you go through the chi, and you go through the mental body, and you start exploring the wuji, etc., etc. Now something else starts happening. We're still focusing. There's still always this concentration happening, but there's something else happening as well, right? You start focusing on a specific frequency, a certain feeling. You focus on the energy. And now there's even a deeper stillness arising with that. So that's always fun, when you teach this stuff. It's like you teach people how to feel energy, and they're like, wait a minute, what is happening? There's just this heart opens, right? It's like magic. And then I say to them, okay, so we do maybe 20 minutes or half an hour of that, and we do the exercise, and I ask the people, it's like, what do you experience? Tell me, are there certain things? And they're like, yeah, it's like glue in between my hands, or I feel a magnet between my hands, or I feel tingling sensations, or I feel woolly, I feel larger, or everything is like, great. And journal that, right? I'm like, journal it. Do journal that. Every time you train that stuff, journal it, because this is your way back, right? Leave breadcrumbs and you'll find your way back. So, but then I asked them, so what was there also?
Yeah.
And they're like, sometimes like, what do you mean? I was focusing on the feeling. So we go back to the experience and ask them again, what do you experience? And then there's like, wait a minute. It is so still. It's so still. There is this vacuum happening around me. And that does something to me, because this is the path of Qigong. You start focusing on the stillness. You start stilling the body in the beginning, the first phase. Then the feeling comes out. You start slowing down because it becomes stiller and stiller. And now all these different frequencies just start, and of course with guidance, but they start just showing themselves. So vital energy turns into chi, becomes thicker and slower and heavier. And from there, it's like, wait a minute, my mind starts expanding. I become present here in this room and beyond. Wait a minute. And the stillness that accumulates will get you into emptiness. And then we start working with light, etc. So this whole alchemy process is not only exploring all these frequencies of who you are and then starting to optimize, or on every level is like, oh, more vital energy or this chi, we're going to explore that, we're going to balance with elements work, all these things. But the byproduct of this training is the stillness that accumulates around you. And we can talk about what happens then, but that's just an experience.
It's an experience.
But out of our own experience, we know it's a thing that you get out of the separation. You get out of feeling separated from everything. Yeah. No, you start, aligning with everything. You start to feel and experience that you're a part of a very large thing.
Yeah.
Right? You're a living energy being in an energy reality. And now everything's changed.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing when you're training this with people is that when they come in, they look in a way,
right,
as we all do, and then they go into the training and you see them change.
Yeah,
you see the expression changes, the face looks different, their posture changes. So sometimes even in one session, but sometimes over a longer period, you see people completely transform into almost a new identity.
Absolutely. So during the exercises, there will be stillness accumulating, but doing that repetitively and through the time will cause a transformation of the person. Yeah. And now there's a totally different approach to thoughts, emotions, and everything, because thoughts will be there. Emotions will be there. That's part of being human. But because there's so much stillness accumulating around you, it's so much easier to be in this objectivity state, right? You don't have to touch that stuff, right? You can just say, hey, it's a thought. Let it pass, right? Let it go. So that was one of the things in the beginning, of course, I did wrong. And probably most people do wrong. It's like, there should be no thoughts. I need to be still. But that's not it. Even if there's thoughts, there's always stillness. Yeah. The stillness is already there.
Yeah.
It's just already there. It's not something we make up. No, it's by concentrating, we tune into that. Right? So now it's like you're not being pulled into these thoughts. You're not being pulled into these emotions in that way, right?
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, it's part of it, and it can come and it can go, and et cetera, et cetera. And a good story tells itself from that point. It's and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And now you're much better at managing yourself, and this leads to, as you say, a complete transformation, and will be so much clearer what your purpose is here. And this is a large part of your purpose, I guess. That's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is becoming present and aware. And the greatest skill is, for any human being, is the skill of concentration, being able to concentrate.
Yeah. That's very deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Awesome. Oh, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And well, until the next podcast.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this. And happy training.
Okay. Bye. Bye.